My name is Alan Silverman. I'm the owner of ARF Mastering here in New York City, which is an independent mastering house. My company has mastered over 40 Grammy-nominated and winning albums, including one that made it to Album of the Year, Best Engineered, and Record of the Year. So it's been a lot of fun. And before that, I have to say I was really lucky in my career. Very fortunate. My first job in the industry was at Electric Lady Studios. And my first day at work, we had AC/DC in A, Hall & Oates in B, and the Rolling Stones in C. And I thought, wow, this is this is pretty amazing. And after that, I moved up to a place called A&R Recording, which was owned by Phil Ramone. And that was a great classic New York studio, one of those places with 4 large rooms, one huge room with a 40-foot high ceiling that was clad in copper and shaped like a pyramid. Finally, in the mid-90s, one of my apprentices or former assistants at A&R brought me a project, and I mastered it. It was my first professional mastering, and it won the Grammy for a Best Pop Vocal project that year. So I thought this was a good omen, and not only that, but my former apprentice had surpassed her teacher, so that was a nice feeling as well. I first found out about Bricasti through a very good friend, Michael Chafee, who's a studio designer and a consultant and a room tuner. And recently he sent up his own personal Bricasti M1, one of the first ones out, and said, "Tell me what you think of this." I believe my response after listening to it for a few days was, "Well, I think you're not getting it back." And he was a pretty good sport about it. It struck me as being the first converter that I'd heard that did not have what I would loosely call the digital sound. I'll explain what I mean. I started my career before digital. There were no CDs. It was tape and eventually cassettes. And when the first CDs came out, I always felt there was something missing. And of course, they've gotten a lot better since the early 80s. And they're really good now, and CD playback is really good, but there's still something that you feel is intuitively or subjectively or emotionally lacking in digital playback. And I think it has to do with the fact that there's something off in the reproduction. The conversion is generally very good. I mean, we play back digital recordings from the middle 80s that sound fantastic. So the bottleneck has always been, in my opinion, in recovery and playback. And there are many subtle aspects of sound, timing aspects, phasing aspects that are hard to measure, or perhaps not being measured completely, that the ear really does react to and become sensitive to. And with the M1, I felt I was hearing the complete music rather than sort of a partial reconstruction. All of the detail and the fine characteristics of the sound, the rhythms, the separation of parts, it just seemed really easy to appreciate. And there was a sense of, I feel like I'm listening to tape now rather than a digital playback. It's just a beautifully made piece of equipment. It feels good to the touch. It's soft edges. It's machined from a solid block of aluminum rather than a sheet metal chassis. It really is a well-made piece. It feels good to the touch. It feels good to own. You feel like you've really got a high-end, top-of-the-line product. There's something about each particular device that has some kind of character. It may not be something you can even measure accurately, but the Bricasti seems to have a richness and a smoothness and at the same time a level of detail, which is very hard to achieve in electronics. Designers can make things super fast and super etched and super accurate and resolved, but they lack some kind of a musical soul. And you can go the other way, which kind of makes it huggy-feely and smiley or whatever, and then it's sort of losing some kind of accurate resolution. I think with the M1, Casey and Brian have found a real sweet spot of just a beautiful musical tone and at the same time a real genuine transparency.